So that wraps up event number 7 of season 4. It's the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Sail Grand Prix. Todd Harris alongside Emily Nagle, Stevie Morrison. Wow, what an event. Emily, it started out with low wind. It looked like it was going to be, wow, are we even going to sail? But in the end, it turned out to be a pretty fun event.
Yeah, and I think we had some really good racing.
Yep.
You know, we did try 2 different courses we've never seen before, which, while I'm not a fan of those courses, it was definitely interesting to have a different dynamic for once and just test something different out.
And it looked like, Stevie, on day number 2 that everyone still thought we were doing the slalom. As they came off that first Mark 1, it was like, oh, no, we're not doing the slalom. So I know you weren't a huge fan of it, but again, to Emily's point, it was a nice little wrinkle.
Yeah, well, it's, I guess, good to try these things, but I think it was a bit of a procession. To be honest, it's great for the fans over there, but I think for us watching on the TV, it was a lot better when we opened the course back out again. And I think, with these big 29-metre winds, I think the big takeaway for me is just how hard it is in the light winds now. There's 10 boats. It's so light and tight in around that start line. And there's seeming to be people are getting on top of the numbers and how you do it. But Emily said at the beginning of the weekend, the Kiwis are sailing the shortest distance and doing well out of that. Well, in sailing world, they're sailing a higher mode, which in a stadium-style course is the way to sail, because you're going to end up with less manoeuvres and you keep yourself open longer. And it's now, are the other teams going to go away and realise they need to adapt how they're sailing? If you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, you're mental. Well, that's what Albert Einstein said. Slightly different wording. But I just think, the other teams have got to go away and learn. 2 in a row for the Kiwis. Yeah. Australia haven't won all season. Tom Slingsby's not going to like that and go into a home patch.
Yeah.
What I thought was really interesting as well was it was really obvious between the fleet racing today and the final just how much that disturbed air affects the boats, because in that final race we see the Kiwis just on the edge of foiling, going way faster than we'd seen in the previous 2 races, but the wind was exactly the same. Like, the wind had not changed, but yet there's such a speed difference. But the Kiwis were really good at knowing in those fleet races, we're not going to try and foil. We know we cannot foil with all of these boats around. We're going to commit to that H2 mode, sail the shortest distance, and get the points.
Yeah. The light wind isn't a sexy sail. It's not as exciting to watch on TV, Stevie, but does this give you an indication of who is the best overall, all-around sailor? I mean, does the cream rise to the crop despite the conditions?
Well, you would struggle to say that Peter Burling's not in the discussion,
right?
And Blair Tuke, Andy Maloney, Liv Mackay, that whole team, the Kiwi team, let's say, we don't need to go with individual names, they're very much a team. They're in the discussion for who's the best in the world. Tom Slingsby's in that discussion, and he's actually got the Rolex watch at the moment that says you are the World Sailor of the Year. I think the Kiwis are more of an all-round package than the Australians right now. I don't see a huge weakness in the New Zealand team, whereas I do see a weakness in the Australian team. However, $2 million is going to be decided probably in a windy race. And I still think the Australians are the best when there's a bit of breeze. So I think, the cream does rise to the top, absolutely. But you've got to get to that final. Australia are doing a really good job of that still. They're still top of the leaderboard. Let's not get too worried about their performance. But I still think as we go to these windier events, we're going to see Australia come back. And it's great to see 2 new teams in the final. Well, not new, but Spain and USA, young Spanish team, new American team. I thought that was brilliant to see their performance. Yeah. We shouldn't underestimate how good a performance Taylor Canfield and that new US team put in, because that is not easy. I'm going to caveat that by saying, as I say, the true indoctrination, is that the right word?
Yep.
Introduction to SailGP is going to come in Sydney when they're going to be up on the foils doing 60, 70, 100 kilometres an hour, hopefully. That's when that's when it's going to take him out of what I would call perhaps more of a comfort zone, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles it. But he's handled it pretty well so far.
That comes up on February 24th and 25th. It's the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix in Sydney Harbour. It's a spectacular view. The conditions are usually pretty rock solid. Do you sense that Tom Slingsby, leading the overall season as a 3-time champion and the home regatta, is going to feel a lot of pressure to win this thing?
I'm sure there's going to be pressure. There always is, but he's also a professional. He's so used to dealing with that. You know, he's competed at the Olympics and the America's Cup and SailGP for multiple seasons. I don't think he's going to be too phased by the situation. I think it will be interesting to see how the season continues to develop for that team. You know, they haven't won an event yet.
Yeah.
It's about time. I thought it was really interesting in the press conference. Tom threw down the gauntlet of, you know, the young guys need to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And the Spanish took
stepped
that
up.
straight on.
Yeah.
They didn't do it very conventionally, though, did they?
No.
Let's be honest.
10th
Anyone that's
first,
watched
10th
Talladega Nights, I mean, Diego Botín was Ricky Bobby, wasn't he? You know, if you're not first, you're last. I mean, it was certainly not as a coach. I mean, I feel very sorry for the Spanish coach. He must be having heart palpitations with that performance. But what it does show is when the Spanish have got a bit of clear space and can do it, they're really fast and they know how to deliver. But yeah, everyone's always got work-ons to put in place. But yeah, it was fantastic for the Spanish and crucial for their season. And we shouldn't underestimate how for Rockwool Denmark, for Emirates Great Britain, how damaging it was for their
this last
season.
event.
You know, it was pretty huge, and it was always going to be a fairly pivotal event. Just past the mid-season point, light winds nearly always levels the playing field. There's always less of a pecking order in light winds. Some ways makes it more impressive the Kiwis won 2 in a row. But yeah, season points-wise, Australia and New Zealand, ominously, I would almost put them in the final.
1 and 1-8, yeah.
We've seen that anything can happen. You can have a big accident. You can have a crash. You know, it can really affect your season. So clearly no one's in the final. But we're going to windier venues. We're going to home venues for those teams. I would be willing to put Australia and New Zealand in the final now. But there's now 3rd to 7th. I'd say any of them can turn it around.
Speaking of heart palpitations, your heart has to break for France. I mean, they've been close twice, just missing out on tiebreakers. But now Quentin Delapierre gets into conditions that really favor his skill set.
I hope so. And, you know, it wasn't their greatest moment. They didn't make the final, but getting that 4th place did at least move them up into 7th. So there is a battle on now between them and Canada to try and move up the fleet.
Yeah, and I think how I would frame it, if I put my not commentating hat on, I put my coaching hat on, is it's very easy to look at the results and us to judge them around the results. Early season, France were pretty poor in light winds. They've been unlucky not to make 2 finals in a row in light winds.
Yeah.
They have analysed, improved, executed better. So they've actually done fantastically, these 2 events.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you're judged by really, do you get to the final? That's how we judge it sat here
Sure.
in our studios. Our job in the studio is to be a bit critical and punchy at them really and pick them out. But those 2 results, the French are better in that light winds. They've got to grab onto that as a positive. Last time we were in Sydney, they won 3 out of 3 races. So you've got to go there thinking, okay.
This is where we turn it around.
Yeah.
Stevie has Australia and New Zealand already locked in the final. So give me another team that you think is probably in that same mix or has the advantage, because you could make a case for 3 or 4 of those teams.
You're not allowed to sit on the fence here,
Yeah.
Emily Nagle.
Okay.
I've
Not
already
this-
put 2 in the final
Whoa,
here,
whoa.
so you've got to.
I said Kiwis before, so you're stealing that one. But I'm going to go with the Danish. They had a bad event, but Nikolai's back on, a bit more consistency going forwards. They do well typically in the windier stuff as well, so I've got a good feeling.
I got to watch out for Tom Slingsby and how he performs. I'm not worried about his performance here because it was just awkward. But now he's got, 6 weeks before the next event, changing plenty of nappies with little Leo. Not quite as much time on the boat maybe, and it's a home event. It's always tough to sail at home events because the distractions of basically your family and friends, they all want to come see you. They want to spend time with you, and you've got to focus not only on performing for your team, but taking care of those around you.
Yeah, he's going through a very life-changing moment at the moment, and good luck to him and congratulations to him as well. Let's be honest, him and his wife. But Tom will be all right. Tom will be all right. He'll be there.
He'll
firing.
find a way.
He'll find a way. He'll be firing when they get there, and I think he'll be really pumped up. And again, if I put my coaching hat on, Ben Durham, the Australian coach, we've got to start winning some now.
Yeah.
Because actually, last year, when they got to that grand final in San Francisco in season 3, winning was almost inevitable for them at the minute.
Yep.
Whereas at the moment, it's not.
Yeah.
So they need to get that winning final mentality, that aggression that he had before.
The first time in 7 events that Australia does not make the final. They finished second, third, second, third, second. I know Tom hates me rattle off that report card, but it is what it is. And this one, they don't make it. So maybe that's the fire that gets Australia back into the final and gets them their first win. They'd be loving to do that on home waters. All right, before we wrap things up, Emily, prediction. As we head down to Sydney, Australia, February 24th and 25th, the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. Give me a prediction. Who wins that event?
Well, I'm going to go with Australia on this one. But it's about time.
Yeah. Stevie, who do you like?
Battle royale between Australia and New Zealand. Berlin gets it done.
Oh, okay. I'm going to step outside the box because you guys are too chicken too. I'm going to say France. I'm going to say France. I'm going to say Content de la Pierre has had enough of finishing on tiebreakers and missing out on the top 3. He's going to say, I'm just going to take care of the business and win this thing.
See, I was going to call them to make the final.
But you didn't have the guts to go all the way. I'm dumb enough to do it.
Home soil, Sydney.
Oh.
What I know, Todd, is I'm going to go home and do some serious wind dances because these last 2 events have been tactically very interesting, but I want to see the F-50s flying again. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty painful seeing these absolute Mustangs stuck on the ground, unable to fly, and so I'm going to go home and do some wind dances. I hope everyone listening goes home and does some wind dances as well.
I think a lot of people have said, enough of the Ferraris in the parking lot. Let's turn these beasts loose.
Exactly.
Sydney for the speed record.
Oh, here we go. We heard it here first. Emily calling it. So, for the former world champion, Emily Nagel, and Olympian Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We will see you in Sydney. That's coming up February 24th and 25th. It's the KPMG Australia Sail Grand Prix Sydney. Hope to see you there.